Welcome to hour number 2 on a Thursday on Hashtag Daily K with your host, Peter Bint. How much do you know about K-food? How much hanchik have you eaten?
We invite you into the world of Korean food, of course, including the history and culture of it. We'll introduce trendy foods and famous restaurants on
Dish of the Day
with Chef Ryan.
It's a Thursday. That means Ryan is always on the show, whether he's here in the studio or out and about, like last week in Karak Market, which was fabulous.
That was fun.
Yeah, and we got to see so many different types of food. Yeah. I guess we condensed the whole season of Dish of the Day into one show.
Well, we only looked at like 5% of the market.
That's crazy,
really?
Isn't it? Yeah. And if you missed it last week, hopefully once again in the future we can send Ryan off somewhere. We often have him on his farm or in his kitchen as well. But today, in the flesh, how are we doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you doing this morning?
Really well. Like, the weather's nice and warm. Yesterday was really warm.
Yeah.
My kids came out of school and they were still wearing, because my wife, I think, dressed them inappropriately with like long hoodies and long sleeves inside.
Yeah.
Some of their friends were running out in t-shirts and my kids were like, why didn't I wear a t-shirt today, Daddy?
Yeah, I was in shorts and a t-shirt.
Shorts as well.
All day on the farm yesterday.
Wow.
Shorts and a t-shirt.
It has cooled down just a tad because I think we had a little bit of rain overnight, but I think today's going to be like 22 degrees as well.
Supposed to get up there a little bit. And then the rain cleaning the air a little bit because yesterday was a bit rough.
Yeah,
so
the
it's,
dust, right?
A little nicer today.
I saw, though, unfortunately, to tell you, Ryan, on the headlines of the Korean papers outside, they were saying in Beijing at the moment it's terrible, and later today we might get hit again.
No!
Which is not so fun. Woohoo! Today we are talking about another creature, fish.
Yes.
One in particular.
Yeah. Are you familiar with this one, man?
I don't think so. Like, I'm looking at the English and Korean name and I'm like, what? Because we call a mullet like that long hair that you have.
Yeah. Mullet is a totally different thing. Yeah. Yeah, like the hockey haircut. Okay, so mullet as a fish, it's a broad range. There's a lot of different variety of mullet. Here in Korea, we have two main ones that are enjoyed. The picture that you're looking at right now is the most general one. It's called Sungeo.
Sungeo.
Right. And I have a little theory about this. So this has been popping up more and more lately.
Really?
It's a better thing for us to eat. These things are lower on the food chain. You can tell kind of by looking at the mouth that it's not much of a hunter.
Okay.
You know, it's more of an algae eater, or small fish eater. So lower on the food chain, a little bit better for the environment. And I've seen them in the markets more and more as other fish are less available.
Freshwater or
seawater?
Seawater. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but they do swim up rivers. We'll get into some stories about that with North Korea a little bit later.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So this is called a flathead gray mullet?
That's correct. Okay. Yeah, so this Sungeo is the flathead gray mullet. And it's mostly, I'd say, around the west and southwest and south. Pretty much, you can find it all around the Korean Peninsula, but it is a winter thing, so that its season is coming to an end towards the end of April.
Okay.
But then the other Sungeo was coming up after that, and that's it looks just like the other one we just had the picture up. It's just much larger.
Okay.
And has a little bit of a brownish or yellowish color on the sides as well. But
how big are we talking? Because I couldn't get a sense of scale.
So the just Sungeo, or the flathead gray mullet, is maybe 30 centimeters. But the others, the Kasungeo, which has a name I'm not even sure how to pronounce in English. It's like So-ui mullet. If you wanted to search it online.
Okay.
SO-UIY.
What?
Yeah, how do you pronounce that? I don't know. And that one grows twice as big. And its season starts towards the end of April and goes into early summer.
Oh, so very different then, seasonally and size-wise as well.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Have I heard mullet as a fish in English? I don't think so in the UK.
Chances are you probably will soon, because like I said, this is much more affordable now than some other fish. I think what sadly what may be happening is we're where it's harder to catch some of the other fish that we've been enjoying. I've seen this happen with the yellowtail or the bango or the hirasu. Years ago, those were really cheap in the market and nobody cared about them.
Yeah.
And now they're really expensive and enjoyed as hue or raw fish in Korea at a lot of restaurants.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I never saw that. So
maybe because of a lack of availability of other fish.
I think that's what's happening, or the prices of other fish going up. So then restaurants or the markets choosing to promote, even the story of the Chilean sea bass.
No.
Okay, so in the 70s, everybody I think out there is familiar with Chilean sea bass. It became hugely popular in the 90s. But in the 70s, nobody would buy it. It had a different name.
Oh.
And there are these fish brokers around the world that try to find ways or find new species of fish to push in the market, right? If there's availability and he can create a demand, then,
Make
so
some money.
He gave it a sexier name, Chilean sea bass. And back then it was only like $2 a pound.
Okay.
And then through the 90s, it went from like $7-8 a pound to triple that.
Wow.
And now that's, where the price has been. And now you can't hardly find the fish anymore.
Oh, goodness.
Because it became so popular. And it's loved. But just, a few decades ago, nobody knew about it. Nobody cared about it.
Oh, so maybe that might be happening with Sungeo, right?
Exactly.
Slowly but surely.
Exactly, yeah.
Who knows? What kind of fish are we talking about just before we get to the songbird? Is it like a white flesh fish?
Yes, absolutely. So it's a delicious fish. If you, a lot of times smaller fish here, like mackerel or Spanish mackerel or gulbi. What is gulbi in English?
Is that the Corvina one?
I think so.
Okay.
A lot of bones.
Yeah.
And so definitely Westerners coming to Korea for the first time, they order this fish and they're like, how do I eat this?
It's too difficult.
Well, Sungo's a little bit easier. Especially the larger ones. The hairpin bones are there, but there's a white flaky flesh that you can pull right out. So.
Oh, okay. A bit more convenient maybe for visitors as well.
Welcome to Arirang Radio.
If you are in Jeju,
88.7 in Jeju City.
88.1 in Seogwipo City.
101.9 in the Daejeong area.
Arirang Radio.
We're back for part 2 talking about mullet or Sungeo. Sungeo?
Sungo.
Sungeo.
Yeah, Sungo is trout.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, it's easy to,
You're going to get those mixed up really easily, aren't you?
Jango, jongo.
Yeah, there are many similar sounding fish in Korea. And the O is the symbol that you should be, or the syllable that you should be listening out for fish.
Right. True.
Apart from chamchi, tuna does not
That's
have an O in it at all, does it? Siska's saying from Indonesia, I just had to search what mullet is in Indonesian. Ikan belanak. It's not a type of fish that I eat often, I must say.
Huh. Okay. Well, I bet you'll start to see it more. I had never really seen them in the markets, and now I'm seeing in the market every single day.
Interesting.
Silver Granny Lynn writes in, mullets are caught on the coast of North Carolina and South Carolina, usually used as bait fish. Yeah, again, I guess this fish has not been greatly respected in the culinary community for so long, but it's, if you did a search for Sungeo, you could find a ton of videos of it being enjoyed, especially here in Korea, as raw, as hue, raw, and people are just loving it. And again, there are 2 varieties here, the larger one and the smaller one, and one season is coming to an end now, and the other one will start soon.
Wow, that's convenient for them to
there
keep
it is,
their name in the know, in the psyche. Benny from the Philippines saying, mullet fish in Filipino is banak, and it's one of our country's most expensive fish.
Hey.
Really?
I'm really curious as to what you guys do with it there.
Yeah, do let us know. How do you prepare it?
Joshua Lee says, yep, they can handle fresh and brackish waters. That's what we were talking about. The mullet sometimes swim up rivers here. There's stories about that with North Korea. And mullet gets spooked easily and can jump completely out of the water. Oh, that's cool. I wonder... I've never been fishing for mullet, but I've seen that when you're trolling for them here in Korea, you use those lines that'll have like 3 or 4 or 5 hooks on it, so you can catch like 3 or 4 or 5 at a time.
Cool.
As you hit a school of them.
Yeah. I don't know if these are the ones I'm thinking of, but whenever I go to the East Coast every summer, we go like snorkeling. There's not that much to see. It's not a coral reef or anything, but there are always the fish that look very similar to your photos right near the top of the water in the shallow areas.
Could be.
In just 2s or 3s, and I really would love to catch them, but they're way too quick. And yeah, they're about 20, 30 centimeters. I wonder.
Well, they do say that if you eat them in the summer, they're tasteless.
Oh,
There's
okay.
no flavor.
Well, I wasn't going to eat them. I just wanted to show them to my kids.
Take them home as pets and then raise them until
in some seawater. So how do we eat them here in Korea?
There's no shortage of ways.
Okay.
You can imagine. So grilled, absolutely, like over a charcoal grill, or pan fried, the sogumgui kind of way. I've seen them in jeon, with the egg wash.
Oh, okay.
So you get a fillet, no
Sure.
bones, and egg wash, and maybe some other ingredients, and kind of pan fry that or
Nice.
shallow fry that. Serve with a little soy sauce.
Yeah.
There are soups. When you go have hue or raw fish here, often the end of your meal, what do you have?
The meontang.
Yeah, the meontan.
That has all those weirdy, beardy, herby things in it that I'm not such a fan of.
You're talking about chrysanthemum greens.
maybe the minari or the kosari
Yeah.
lots of different weird
Sukkat.
things. Yeah.
You don't like sukkat
I don't
either.
really like any of them.
Yeah, so many people around the world are familiar with chrysanthemums as the flower, as the thing you might plant, around your house. We plant them at the garden to keep the butterflies on the edges of the farm rather than
Oh,
bringing
really?
caterpillars into the farm.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But chrysanthemum greens here are much more, or chrysanthemum is much more known as a food source in Korea than it is just as a decorative flower.
We've got a few photos, so we're
Here's
trying
the
to catch
John,
up.
yeah. So that green on the left is chrysanthemum green.
And you can even put that on that egg washed version.
It gives
like
like
that.
a bright little how does it described? Just like a subtle brightness to it.
Okay.
A contrast from the oiliness of the John, because it's an egg wash and then just a pan fry on that one.
And then you can have it in, like you said, the meontang. It can be used in there.
Absolutely,
like the cut-offs.
absolutely. Meontang is one of my. I love this idea. So to go have a bunch of raw fish, and then the end of your meal, out comes this big soup that everybody shares. And
Yeah.
for the restaurant point of view, from the chef point of view, what goes in here are all the parts that didn't already come to your plate.
Yeah, and they're going to help
So
with the
head,
stock, right?
exactly. The head, the bones, any meat that they didn't get when they were filleting the fish to serve it to you raw. There's radishes in there. There's chrysanthemum green, chilies, tofu.
The first time I had it, and we just showed you a photo of it, I was like a bit worried. I was thinking, wait, has someone already eaten this? Because it was just a few bones with really barely any meat on it, right? And I was like, that surely isn't meant to be in here, but they just put it all in there, right?
That's
all
right.
The little
Well,
bits and
nothing goes to
pieces.
waste. This
Yeah.
is really cool. This makes sense. I mean, you could always compost it, but first you could make meontang.
Yeah. And that is really, like you said, a great way to finish off a meal like that.
Oh, so nice. And then it's time for bed after that.
So in terms of like grilling this, it's just easy to do. You can put the whole fish on the grill.
What you do have to do with these is they do have some thick scales. So it's not my favorite thing to do, scaling fish. Luckily in Korea, when you go buy fish, you can often ask your fishmonger, can you please scale it for me?
Yeah.
And they're fast at it. And they, but when you take these home and go to scale them, I don't know if you guys have ever done this at home,
Yeah.
but any fish with a decent sized scale, they'll often flip and fly and stick to places in your
Oh, the
kitchen.
scales.
And you find them a day later, and you're like, and then you like really work to get them off there. And it's just a bit of work, but definitely worth it.
How do you descale them? I don't think we do that often in
If
our
you don't
household.
have a scaler is just basically kind of like a little rake kind of device.
Okay.
And they work really well. But if you don't have that, just a spoon. Just hold a spoon.
really?
I'll put my thumb in the curve of the spoon.
Yeah.
And just rub it from tail forward.
Oh, backwards kind of thing against the grain.
Start back at the tail and go up towards the head.
Yeah.
And just try to get the first few out. And
Okay.
once you get the first few out, the next get easier and easier. And different fish, you want to use different amounts of force because you don't want to damage the flesh under the skin there. Usually the skin is removed from this fish as well. But when you grill it, you don't really have to. If you scale it, cut off the fins. Often I've seen it skewered and then laid across a grill.
Oh, skewered as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to hold it all together. And then hot and fast. You guys know we talk about that often with seafood. You really want to go hot and fast on this, with the exception of a few types like octopus, maybe not. But most seafood is that way.
Do that for the grill, and then pan fried. I'm assuming pretty similar.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is what you normally see in Korea with the mackerel or the Spanish mackerel, maybe with kajami or like a small flounder as well. I've seen it that way. But sungo definitely can be done the same way, because when you go to fillet these, what's usually done here in Korea, rather than taking all the bones out, they'll just cut all the way down the middle of the fish.
Yeah.
So one side has the backbone
Yeah.
and one side doesn't.
Sure.
And then you can pull the flesh off of that backbone on that one side, and the other side.
Pretty easy to do.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Yeah.
And then often served with maybe some sam or some kind of lettuce wrap, and definitely a little soy sauce on the side, maybe a little wasabi.
Nice. This next picture, maybe we can show this and then go to a song break after talking about what it is. That's the whole fish. I don't think I've seen Korean fish done in this way so regularly.
Well,
Is that the whole thing? Like, it looks to me like a Chinese restaurant style, maybe.
It does look a little bit like that, but this is Korean, and that is sukkat or chrysanthemum green.
Oh,
on
they've
there
just
with
put
it.
a load of raw
Yeah,
sukkat
the
there.
lemon you don't usually see here,
No.
but that's okay. There's definitely some links. This is sungo jim.
Okay.
So braised. Jim translates as braised or steamed.
Yeah.
But it's definitely braised. I have seen them steamed a couple of times as well, but you get just like a shallow liquid in a pot and with a lid, and let that sucker go. And this one was scored prior to being braised, and so it cooks a little faster through those thicker parts of the flesh.
And what's in this sauce? This is kind of a standard thing sometimes to get with some fish jims, right?
Oh yeah. So you almost always find radish in the broth for any kind of fish jim in Korea. Definitely chili flakes, garlic.
Yes.
You'll often find some ginger as well, and then Peter's favorite, chrysanthemum green garnish.
Why is it everywhere? That can bring us on to this question that a few of our listeners were wanting to ask you and me myself, because the hashtag the other day was jimgi, which is like a steamer. You know that foldable like metal one in Korea?
Sure, yeah.
That's become really popular apparently on the rainforest vendor internationally. And
No
some
kidding.
some people
Okay.
are using it as just a dish to serve fruit. Some people using it as a campfire accessory where you can put coals underneath and use it as like a grill because it's got the holes and it's stainless steel.
Oh, that probably wouldn't last very long.
I don't
All
think
right.
so. But Paul, it must have been yesterday, Paul was saying, he loves a good jim, but jim in one sense can mean to steam traditionally the Western way, but this kind of fish, we're not talking about steaming it, right? It's braising. So in Korea, there's like no distinction between those.
Yeah, you're right. I was confused for maybe the whole first year that I was here. I was like, wait, are we talking about steaming? Are you talking about boiling? Are you talking about braising? It's kind of interchangeable here. It is.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, you could, the common denominator across a lot of chims is that, between a soup might be a thinner thing, but a jim is going to be thicker, and it's served with rice.
Yeah.
And the liquid that thickens up with a jim is rich. It's strong. That's the kind of thing I wouldn't want it really for lunch so much, because it's going to weigh you down.
Sure.
Be it a kimchi chim that has a lot of pork belly and all that fat and kimchi, or something like a sungo chim.
Yeah.
They're heavier, and you need a lot of rice. They're saltier. You need a lot of rice to enjoy that.
It's all concentrated. We had a good kimchi chim last weekend with the pork in there as well. And that was a good dinner dish. Really filled us up. So when you hear it in a dish name, it's almost never steamed. That's meaning it's been braised.
That's right.
usually, right? But then jimgi, the steamer, is talking about a contraption that is used to really steam things with boiling water. It's a bit confusing.
Now,
All about Korea.
Arirang Radio.
Lots of messages coming in. We're talking about Sungeo or mullet, and Siska says, I wonder what Ryan thinks is the best way to cook mullet fish, because here in Indonesia we only fry it and then eat it with some of that sambal chili sauce.
we were talking about this before the show. When in doubt, fry it. No, I honestly, I think, have you ever done the trick where you take parchment paper and wrap it around the papilote?
No.
You ever done this? It's a really nice way to do
You
fish.
talked about it before, where you put in some herbs and stuff, and then all the juices run out and stuff.
And it's cute, Valentine's Day has passed, but this is a cute one to do because you take parchment paper and you cut it in the shape of a heart.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then fold it across the middle.
Uh-huh.
All right. And then lay the fish in there.
Okay.
Of course, you're going to have to scale it, and you might do all that first,
Okay.
If you want to do this really simple, you just get a tilapia fillet and throw it in there. And then choose your flavors. You could go lemongrass and garlic and ginger, But what you're doing with this technique, the papilote, is you start at the point after you fold it over and all your ingredients are in there.
Yeah.
You start at the point and fold over the parchment, the bottom layer over the top layer.
Yeah.
And then just keep following that fold around, and it'll seal all the way around the heart.
Okay.
And then you could just staple the last part, the last fold, because if you staple the last one, it'll hold all the others in place.
Yeah.
And then throw it in the oven, a really hot oven.
Okay.
And then you're essentially steaming or
Yeah,
braising.
inside,
It's cheap. I don't know. It's not really braising because you don't have a lot of liquid in there.
Sure.
But it's definitely steaming. And liquid does form in there. And so, but everything is trapped inside.
Yeah.
Nothing can escape. And so it intensifies the flavor in the fish.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, you should always season, fish and chicken alike or anything, and let it sit for a good, 15, 20, 30 minutes
Before cooking it.
as well, because
Okay.
give that flavor a chance to get in there. Because it's going to cook. I mean, something like a mullet, especially a fillet, if it's not whole,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to cook in like 7 minutes in a hot oven.
Wow.
That's
done. It.
Yeah.
That's called un papilote?
Yeah. Let me find the spelling for you, but yeah.
Nian spelt it, I assume,
thanks.
correctly.
Thanks,
But
yeah.
I'm not sure. I've never heard of that. Is that like a technique from a...
You've
from
never
another
heard of
country?
that?
No, is that
Oh.
like French or something, maybe,
I
or
believe
Spanish?
it's Italian.
Okay. Oh, but just by folding it, that's enough to seal it?
Yeah. If you cut it in a heart shape, and
Yeah.
then that point, after you fold it over, you've got a point at the
Yeah.
bottom, and fold that kind of at a up and left, up and to the left, and then the next one over that, and the next one over that, and
they all
it
keep each other
basically
shut.
exactly, yeah.
Wow,
I think I did
sounds
that
good.
the first time in high school. I think.
And then you open it up for your other half, perhaps, and it's a heart.
Well, you've got it on a pan in the oven. You take
Yeah.
out that pan, and then you can just cut open the top, and it just open it up, and you can serve it in the paper. Even it looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
And of course, another nice thing is if you've got dinner guests and you're not sure when everybody's going to sit down to eat, but you want the fish ready, and you're like,
Yeah.
Well, it's a nice way to keep fish warm. Fish cools down. If you put fish on a cold plate,
Yeah.
it's cold in seconds.
That's
But in the papilote, in that parchment paper wrapped up, and then the guest can cut it open and steam comes out. It's a nice little presentation trick and
That's
nice
good.
flavors. So was it Siska asking?
Yes.
That might be my favorite way. One of my favorite ways. Another way is salt bake. Have you ever
Okay.
done that?
No.
It's a little intimidating the first time, but it's really not hard. You just get a ton of salt and a bunch of egg whites.
And you just encase the fish?
Yeah.
It doesn't get too salty?
Well, it can, but skin on fish,
Okay.
whole skin on fish, will not get too salty. And then after you bake it, all that salt will come off in one big piece.
Oh,
Or
just like a
crack-
crust.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right. And then that also is sealing in all that flavor. And a nice presentation, too.
That sounds nice as well, doesn't it? That's why we've got Chef Ryan here. We are running out of time, so let's just
Are we?
get back to the photos.
Okay.
Because this is obviously one of the most loved ways of eating fish in Korea. Just raw, not in a Japanese style where they've done anything to it.
That's right. That's right. So this is filleted, skinned, and raw, and they've left. Okay, the reddish hue there on part of the flesh.
Yeah.
That's maybe here in Korea it's loved,
Yeah.
but it's not for everybody. If you're cooking this fish and you don't like a stronger flavor, you can remove that. It's not as strong as like a mackerel has, though. So
Is that the bit that goes kind of grey when you cook it
Yes.
in a mackerel?
That's right. That's right. The rest of the fish is more flaky white, but that red part turns kind of grayish and is closer to the bone. But yeah, this is popping up more and more in Hue restaurants in Korea, and of course it's served with lettuce wraps and raw garlic and samjang or chojang, vinegar red pepper paste, or the samjang with lots of garlic and gochujang in there.
The standard Hue spread.
Oh, yeah.
And before you go, we got to get into this one.
Yeah.
You were mentioning North Korea and it like swimming up the rivers and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
a North Korean style to serve this.
All right, so check this out. If you go to Pyongyang,
Yeah.
okay, and then you go back home, a common greeting when you're returning home from Pyongyang,
Yeah.
apparently has been, "How was the sungeo-guk?"
Oh, not even knowing that you've had it, but just assuming because it's so popular.
It's such a tradition to serve this to people when they go to Pyongyang, or has been in the past.
Wow.
Yeah, that, and I love this too. You're looking at this picture, Peter. Do you know what that green is there?
Looks like coriander.
It is!
Wow.
Yes.
In the soup in North Korean cuisine.
Totally. And if you go to the part of Korea where a lot of the ginseng is grown, I was walking around the markets there, and these little old ladies are selling wild coriander or cilantro.
Not in
the
North
markets.
Korea, of course.
In South Korea. In South Korea. But because monks enjoy coriander a lot.
Wow.
It's supposed to reduce
Desires.
Yes. But anyway, yeah, so this soup, I really want to try this. It's a simple broth. We're talking just some ginger. Let me double check my notes here. Some ginger, some scallions, and garlic,
And then a bit of coriander
and the fish, and then garnish with the coriander.
It's so odd because coriander is seen as like exotic and foreign in South Korea. But I heard from a couple of people who went to North Korea, there's a lot of coriander in a lot of their dishes.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it is funny, isn't it?
It's been around Korea for a long time. Just was kind of forgotten, or
especially
or
down
isolated.
south, it seems.
That's
right?
it. That's it.
Right. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time
All right,
for
man.
today. We're going to see you again next Thursday. Have a wonderful weekend.
Ciao.
You've been listening to the Thursday segment, Dish of the Day with Chef Ryan on #DailyK.